Hello again, Year 4. Hopefully you really enjoyed creating your very own Flanimals this morning and have had a little bit of a break and are ready for some maths learning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so that we can have a look at the slides. And we are going to continue focusing on rounding, but today we are going to round numbers to the nearest 100 instead of rounding to the nearest 10. So we need to think carefully about our place value. Okay, have a little recap of the Roman numerals here. Think about why it's IX, but here we have XII. Be interested to hear your thoughts tomorrow. As I said, I will quickly recap the reasoning questions and the challenge X that I set you yesterday instead of putting the answers on the slides. So, which of these numbers give 80 when rounded to the nearest 10? Let's go through each number really quickly. I have got 84. So rounding to the nearest 10, my 8 is in my tens. So I'm going to underline my 4. My 4 has a value less than 5. So 84 rounded to the nearest 10 is 80. So hopefully you circled that one. 87, I'm still going to circle my 8 because it's in my tens. However, the 7 I underline now has a greater value in the ones column than 5. Therefore, my 8 is going to push up to a 9 in my tens. So 87 rounded to the nearest 10 is 90. 72, my 2 in the ones is going to round down. So my 7 is going to stay the same and my 2 is going to change as a placeholder. So 72 will round to 80. 76, however, my 6 in my ones, because it has a greater value than 5, will round the 7 up to 80. So that one also rounds to 80. And 90 rounded to the nearest 10. It already is a multiple of 10. So that stays exactly as it is. Well done if you managed to get those two correct answers. Moving on, I did tell you that each one of these numbers on the right-hand side are multiples of 10, can have more than one rounded to it. So 46, my 6 is going to increase my tens column by 1. So my 4 is going to change to a 5. So this should have a line down to 50. In a similar way, my 8 ones will push my 3 tens up to 4 tens. So that should head across to 40. My 7 ones will push my 5 tens up to 6 tens. So that'll be 60. And my 2 ones will actually cause me to round down. So I've got still a 6 and a place value holder. So 60. Well done if you managed to get all of those right, or maybe even 1 or 2 of those right, just as a good application of your skills there. Challenge X, I'm going to do this really quickly. Amy chooses 2 of these cards. She adds the numbers of her 2 cards together. So she finds the sum of 2 cards. And then she rounds the result to the nearest 10, which is 60. So which 2 cards did she choose? If I were to add 23 and 33 as step 1, I would get 56. Rounding that to the nearest 10, my 6 ones will push my 5 tens up. So I now have 6 tens and 0 ones. So the 2 cards that we have picked are 23 and 33. Excellent if you manage to do that and explain it, maybe even tell me why another combination of cards wouldn't work. That's real mastery. That's great reasoning. Okay, so moving on to today. 2 quick questions up on the board. Either do the fluency question if you're still working on your confidence, or the problem solving one if you want to try another one of those reasoning ones. So you can pause the video and then join us on the next slide when you are ready. And also a quick vocabulary check. How many different ways can you say multiply? I'm going to give you 45 seconds. So pause the video and write them down on a piece of paper. I look forward to hearing some of your key synonyms for multiply in your emails. Hopefully you got some of these. Times, multiplied by, lots of, groups of, the product of, was something we looked at yesterday, squared when you multiply the number by itself, or cubed. I've put the link again and the explanation for the rounding wrap. If you want to revisit that, I would recommend doing it, but this time applying it to rounding to the nearest 100. So the steps are exactly the same, but we just need to identify a different digit. If we're rounding to the nearest 100, instead of finding and circling a digit in the tens, I have to find it and circle it in the hundreds. So in 256, I need to circle my 200s. In 6,500, you can listen out for it if you say it out loud, and 43, I've circled my 5 because that's in my hundreds column. Step 2, we know from yesterday that we need to underline the digit in the column to the right, which is now the tens, because we have hundreds, tens, ones. So in 256, I've underlined my 5 because I've got 256. In 6,543, I've underlined my 4 because that's in my tens to the right of my hundreds. Same rules apply as yesterday. So if that digit in the tens has a value less than 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we need to keep the hundreds digit the same and change your tens to a 0 because we're going to be rounding down. It's closer to that multiple of 10 than it is to the next multiple of 10. Here are some examples on this slide. I'm not going to talk over them. I'm going to let you have a little read and see if you can figure that out as well. Again, link back to yesterday's learning. If the digit in my tens column is 5 or more, so that includes 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we then have to increase the value of the hundreds column by 1. So the 7 would cause my 300s to increase to 400s, and then everything after is replaced with a placeholder 0. So 372 rounded to the nearest 100 is 400. Again, take a minute to look at this slide and make sure you fully understand that. Here are your questions for today, very similar to yesterday. Okay, they will get a little bit more challenging as you go along, and you've got your 2 challenge X1s at the bottom. Remember what happens if I'm having to round up and I've got a 9 in that column. We'll have to then carry it over, in this case, to the thousands. Okay, so pause this slide and give it your best shot, and your answers will be on the next page. Okay, so there's your answers there. Hopefully you managed to get at least a few correct. Maybe some of you even challenge yourself with the challenge X1s there. We are also going to have our reasoning